Amara sat at the long dining table, her heart full as guests laughed and raised their glasses. The hall sparkled with golden lights, and cameras flashed to capture every happy moment. It was their 25th wedding anniversary, a day she had waited for with love and pride. Her husband, Chaik, sat beside her, smiling for the pictures. He looked calm, charming, and confident, the perfect husband in everyone's eyes. Amara felt tears of joy as she stood up to give her speech. She had written every word with care, ready to thank him for their years together, their journey from nothing to everything. But just as she lifted the microphone, her phone vibrated on the table. She almost ignored it, until she saw the name on the screen. It was from a number she didn't know, but the message read, "You deserve to see this." She hesitated, then opened it. A video played. Her hands shook as she saw her husband, Chaik, kissing another woman, holding her like he used to hold Amara. The woman laughed softly, calling him my love. Amara's throat went dry. Her heart pounded so loud, she could barely hear the music anymore. The room began to spin. For a moment, she wanted to scream, to drop the phone and run. But everyone's eyes were on her. The cameras were still flashing. She swallowed her pain, forced a smile, and continued her speech, her voice trembling, her eyes full of tears she could not let fall. The guests clapped, cheering for the perfect couple, not knowing that her world had just shattered in front of them. That night, after the guests left and the lights went out, Amara walked into their bedroom. Chaik was packing a suitcase. She asked in a quiet voice, "Why?" He didn't even look at her. "Amara, I want out," he said coldly. "I'm tired of pretending." Her knees weakened. "Pretending," she whispered. "For 25 years?" Chaik zipped his bag and turned toward her, expressionless. "It's over. Don't make it dramatic." Then he walked past her, suitcase in hand, leaving the mansion without another word. The staff stood in silence, watching as the man of the house walked away from everything she thought they had built together. Amara stood there, frozen, her breath caught in her chest. The walls around her seemed to close in. Every laugh, every memory from that evening replayed in her mind like a cruel joke. When the door shut behind him, the house felt empty, like a tomb filled with ghosts of love long dead. Her phone slipped from her hand. The only sound left was the echo of her own heartbreak. What does a woman do when the life she built for 25 years crumbles overnight? The foundation of love that became a prison began many years ago when Amara first met Chaik. They were young and full of dreams. Back then, life was simple but hard. They lived in a small one-room apartment with cracked walls and an old mattress on the floor. Yet they were happy. Amara sold her jewelry to help Chaik start his small trading business. She believed in him completely. When he failed, she encouraged him. When he succeeded, she celebrated him like it was her own victory. Together, they built everything. Every shop, every deal, every connection. Amara was not just his wife, she was his partner, his strength, the one who stood beside him through every storm. She cooked, cleaned, comforted him, and prayed for his success every night. And when that success finally came, it came like a flood. Chaik's business grew fast. They moved from that tiny apartment into a big mansion in Lagos. Expensive cars, staff, parties. Everything she once dreamed of. But slowly something changed. The man who once called her my reason began to call her woman. The dinners they once shared turned into lonely meals eaten at different times. Chaik started spending long nights at work. Amara waited for him, watching the clock, pretending not to notice the perfume that wasn't hers on his shirts. In public, they looked perfect, the powerful businessman and his graceful wife. But behind the walls of their mansion, she felt trapped. The love that once gave her wings now felt like chains. After the anniversary disaster, everyone talked. Her friends whispered in pity. Some said, she should have seen it coming. Others said, at least she lived well. The women at her church lowered their voices when she entered. She could feel their eyes on her back. The gossip burned more than words. Amara stopped going out. She couldn't face the world that once admired her. The laughter of people felt like knives. Her only child, Toby, called from London when he found out. "Mum, how could he do this to you?" he shouted over the phone. "Don't let him get away with it." But Amara didn't know how to explain to him that it wasn't just about betrayal. It was about the silence that had built up over the years. The moments she chose peace over arguments, patience over pride. "Toby, just focus on your studies," she said softly. I'll be fine. He didn't believe her, but he said nothing more. Days turned into weeks. The mansion that once felt full of life now echoed with emptiness. The staff avoided her eyes. The sound of her own footsteps reminded her that she was alone. One afternoon, her best friend Ngozi came to visit. Ngozi had always been the bold one, the type who never kept quiet when something was wrong. She looked at Amara with both anger and pity. Amara, you can't just sit here, she said firmly. You built that empire with him. Every coin, every business, you deserve your share. Don't let him take everything and walk away. Amara smiled weakly. Ngozi, I don't want to fight. I'm tired. Tired? Ngozi's eyes widened. He humiliated you. Don't you want justice? Amara looked out the window. The garden outside was bright and green. But she felt nothing. Justice won't give me peace, she whispered. I just want to breathe again. Ngozi sighed, shaking her head. You're too kind for this world. When her friend left, Amara sat alone, thinking about the life she had lived. She realized that somewhere along the line, she had lost herself, her voice, her dreams, her laughter. For years, she had been the woman behind Chaik's success, but she had forgotten to build anything for herself. At night, she would lie awake, staring at the ceiling, her heart aching from the weight of everything unspoken. Her phone would ring sometimes, numbers she didn't recognize, probably reporters or curious people who wanted to know her side of the story. She ignored them all. She spent hours walking through the empty mansion, touching the furniture she once chose with love. Every corner reminded her of a memory. Their first expensive dining table, the curtains she begged him to change, the painting he bought after his first million. It all felt meaningless now. And yet, beneath her sadness, something new began to grow, a quiet strength she didn't recognize at first. It was the strength of someone who had lost everything and had nothing left to fear. For the first time in years, she began to think not about Chaik, not about the past, but about herself. Who was she without him? What could she become if she stopped living in his shadow? She didn't have all the answers yet, but deep down she knew this pain wouldn't destroy her. It would remake her. Amara had lived her whole life being someone's wife, someone's supporter, someone's shadow. Now, for the first time, she would learn how to be Amara. Weeks later, Amara faced the kind of pain she never imagined. Her phone buzzed nonstop. Friends called, old schoolmates sent messages, and even people she barely knew tagged her in posts. When she finally opened her social media, she froze. Everywhere she looked, there were pictures of Chaik and another woman, Zara. They were smiling, holding hands, traveling to Paris, London, and Dubai. In one photo, Chaik was kissing Zara under a glittering chandelier. Another showed him gifting her a diamond necklace. The caption on a gossip blog read, "Love Reborn. Businessman Chaik Okafor finds happiness again with stunning new fiancée Zara." Amara stared at the screen, numb. The same man who once called her his everything was now being celebrated for finding true love. The comments were cruel. Some mocked her, others pitied her. Poor woman, she couldn't keep her husband. She should move on, he deserves happiness. Each word felt like a slap. She stayed indoors for days, refusing to eat or answer calls. The pain was sharp and deep, but she tried to stay silent. She didn't want pity. She just wanted peace. Then one evening, as she was sipping tea in her living room, the TV caught her attention. A grand business gala was being broadcast live, one she used to attend every year with Chaik. The screen showed a red carpet, cameras flashing, and famous faces smiling. Then she saw him. Chaik walked in proudly, dressed in a fine suit, and beside him, wearing a sparkling silver dress, was Zara. The reporter's voice said excitedly, "Here comes Mr. Chaik Okafor with his new fiancée, Zara Williams. What a lovely couple." Amara's hand began to tremble. The teacup slipped and shattered on the floor, tea spilling everywhere. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. Her husband, still legally married to her, was introducing another woman as his bride-to-be. She turned off the TV, but it was too late. The image was burned into her heart. The next morning, there was a knock at her gate. A man in a dark suit stood outside, a lawyer. He greeted her politely and handed her a brown envelope. Inside were divorce papers. Amara's hands shook as she flipped through the pages. The settlement offer was shockingly small. Just a small house and a bit of money. Nothing close to what she helped build. Later that afternoon, Chaik himself came. He stood by the door, calm as ever. "You'll be comfortable," he said coldly. "You don't need all that money. You're not in the business world. I just want this done quickly." Amara stared at him, speechless. For years she had supported him, sacrificed everything. Her youth, her dreams, her health. And this was how he repaid her. She didn't cry this time. Something inside her had broken completely, but that break made space for something new. Courage. Without a word, she took the pen, signed the papers, and slid them across the table. Chaik looked surprised. "You're signing?" Just like that. She met his eyes. "Yes," she said quietly. "You've already taken what mattered most. The rest doesn't hurt anymore." He didn't respond. He just nodded and walked away. When the door closed behind him, Amara sat still for a long time. The air felt heavy, but her heart felt strangely light. It was over. That night, she gathered her gold jewelry, the same ones she had worn during happier days, and placed them in a box. She took a deep breath, removed her wedding ring, and dropped it inside too. The sound of the metal hitting the box felt final. The next morning, she went to the jewelry store and sold everything. Then she withdrew all her savings from the bank. She packed a few clothes, left her mansion quietly, and disappeared from the city without telling anyone where she was going. For 25 years, Amara's life had been tied to Chaik's name. Now she would learn to live with her own. She didn't know where her journey would lead, but one thing was certain. She was done living in the shadows of someone else's love. This was the end of her old life, and the beginning of a new one. Amara rents a small shop in Lekki, a tiny place with peeling paint and a broken window. It isn't much, but it's hers. She cleans the floor herself, paints the walls white, and places a small wooden table near the window. A new beginning always starts small, she tells herself. She decides to start a catering business. Something simple, something from her heart. Cooking had always been her comfort. Whenever Chaik was stressed, she cooked his favorite meals. When she was sad, she cooked to forget. Now she would cook to live. She names it Amara's kitchen. The first weeks are hard. Very hard. She wakes up before sunrise, goes to the market, and bargains for ingredients. The market women sometimes cheat her because she looks too soft, too kind. Suppliers deliver half of what they promise. Some customers don't show up to collect their orders. Others complain just to avoid paying. Every night, Amara counts her money and sighs. It's never enough. Rent, gas, food. Everything eats into her savings. She eats plain rice most nights, too tired to make anything else. But every morning, she still wakes up and opens her shop. She cooks with care, remembering her late mother's recipes. Spicy jollof rice, pepper soup, fried plantains with a touch of ginger. Her hands move with love, even when her eyes are tired. One afternoon, a young woman walks into her shop. "Auntie, your food smells heavenly," she says. Amara smiles and serves her a plate of jollof rice with grilled chicken. The woman eats quietly, then looks up. "This is the best food I've tasted in Lagos," she says. She takes a photo of the plate, posts it online and writes, "Hidden gem in Lekki, Amara's kitchen. You need to taste her cooking." Amara doesn't think much of it, but the next morning, her phone doesn't stop ringing. People are calling for orders. A man wants her to cook for his office staff. Another wants small chops for a birthday party. A lady says, "I saw you on Instagram. Can I book you for my wedding?" Amara can't believe it. She rushes to the market, buys extra pots, and hires a young helper. Slowly, her shop becomes busy. The sound of laughter and frying fills the air again. One day, as she wipes sweat from her face after serving a big order, she looks around and smiles. For the first time in a long while, she feels proud. Not because of anyone else, but because of herself. Meanwhile, far away, Chaik's new marriage begins to fall apart. Zara is not like Amara. She loves attention, parties, and expensive things. She argues with Chaik over money and posts too much of their private life online. The same gossip blogs that once praised them now write cruel headlines. Trouble in paradise. Chaik and Zara's luxury love faces scandal. At business meetings, Chaik looks tired and distracted. His friends whisper about how his new wife is ruining his reputation. Zara doesn't care. She continues spending and showing off. But Amara knows nothing about that. She's too busy building her new world from the ground up. Months pass. and her name spreads quietly across Lagos. People talk about her food at weddings, parties, and offices. Soon, Amara's kitchen becomes known for not just good food, but food that feels like home. She saves enough money to expand her shop. New chairs, bright curtains, a proper signboard. Every plate she serves carries her story, though no one knows it. Customers see only a calm woman who smiles while cooking, not the woman who once lost everything. Sometimes, when she's alone after closing, she still cries. But these are not the same tears she once cried in her mansion. These are tears of release, of healing. She cries behind the stove while stirring stew, whispering prayers of thanks. Her son, Toby, calls from London more often now. "Mom, I saw your restaurant online. You're trending," he says proudly. Amara laughs softly. "Small things grow when you water them," she replies. Her friend Ngozi visits one afternoon and is amazed. "Amara, you did this?" she says, looking around the busy shop. "You've turned your pain into something beautiful." Amara smiles. "Pain taught me how to fight quietly," she answers. By the end of the year, she's cooking for big corporate events. Her food becomes part of Lagos talk shows and lifestyle blogs. A journalist even interviews her for a small article titled, "From Broken to Bold: The Woman Behind Amara's Kitchen." Each step forward feels like light returning after a long night. But she never forgets the journey. The cold nights she slept hungry, the humiliation, the loneliness. Those memories don't haunt her anymore. They guide her. Late at night, after everyone leaves, Amara often sits near the stove, watching the flames flicker. The warmth touches her face as she whispers to herself, "This is who I was meant to be." She's no longer the wife who lived in someone else's shadow. She's no longer defined by betrayal. Now she's Amara, a woman who rebuilt her life from ashes, one meal at a time. 2 years later, Chaik's world began to fall apart. His once powerful business empire was suddenly everywhere in the news, but not for success. Headlines screamed about corruption, fraud, and missing company funds. Government officials began investigations. His business partners backed away. One by one, the banks froze his accounts. The same reporters who once praised him now called him a fallen tycoon. His friends stopped answering his calls. The luxury cars disappeared. The mansion was quiet. And Zara? She was the first to go. When the money stopped flowing, she packed her designer bags and left without looking back. On her social media, she posted new pictures in Dubai with another rich man. Chaik was left alone. The man who once had everything now had nothing. While his life was falling apart, Amara's life was blooming like a new flower after rain. Her small catering shop, Amara's Kitchen, had grown into a well-known brand across Lagos. She now had 3 branches and a team of women she trained herself. Her food was loved by everyone, from busy workers to celebrities. Magazines wrote about her success story, from betrayal to brilliance, the woman who turned pain into power. Television shows invited her for interviews. She spoke softly but confidently, always ending with her slogan, "Food that heals the heart." Amara never bragged or spoke badly about Chaik. She simply told her story, how heartbreak taught her strength, and how every woman could rise again. One morning, she received an official letter inviting her to cater for a big charity gala. It was one of the most prestigious events in Lagos, attended by government officials, CEOs, and business leaders. It felt like another big step for her company. She accepted the offer with excitement, but when she checked the guest list, her heart skipped a beat. The guest of honor was none other than Chaik Okafor. For a moment, she just stared at the paper. It felt strange, almost unreal. Life had come full circle. The night of the gala arrived. The venue was a grand hotel ballroom decorated with gold lights and white roses. Waiters moved gracefully between tables, and the scent of Amara's food filled the air. Everyone praised the dishes, the jollof rice, the grilled chicken, the soups rich with spice and love. As the guests arrived, Amara stayed in the background, dressed neatly in her chef's coat, giving instructions to her staff. Then, the room suddenly went silent for a moment. Chaik had arrived. He looked nothing like the proud man she once knew. His shoulders were bent, his eyes dull. His expensive suits no longer fit perfectly. The charm he once carried like a weapon was gone. He walked in quietly, shaking hands with a few people who barely acknowledged him. The whispers followed him around the hall. Everyone knew about his downfall. From across the room, Amara watched him. For a moment, she felt something deep. Not hate, not anger, just a quiet understanding. Later that evening, as the event was ending, one of the organizers led Chaik to the buffet table to meet the famous chef behind the food. When he turned and saw her, his eyes widened in shock. He froze for a few seconds, unable to speak. "Amara," he finally whispered, his voice low and shaky. "You did all this?" Amara smiled softly. She didn't gloat or show pride. She simply looked at him with calm eyes and said, "No, Chike. You did. You left me no choice but to find myself." Her words hung in the air like thunder, gentle but powerful. Chaik lowered his head. His eyes filled with regret. He wanted to say more, maybe apologize, maybe beg for forgiveness, but Amara was already turning away, walking back toward her staff, the women she had trained, the business she had built, the new life she had created. That night, as the gala ended, everyone praised Amara's food and her inspiring journey. Reporters surrounded her, asking for photos and interviews. Chaik stood at a distance, watching her. The woman he once dismissed, now standing tall and shining brighter than ever. As she smiled for the cameras, he realized what he had truly lost. Not just a wife, but a woman of strength, grace, and unbreakable spirit. Amara didn't look back at him. She didn't need to. Life had already spoken louder than any revenge could. The man who once broke her had unknowingly built her. By walking away, he had given her the space to rise. Amara officially opens Amara's Foundation, a special center to help women who are starting their lives again after betrayal, abuse, or divorce. The place is small but bright, filled with hope. There are classrooms, a kitchen for training, and quiet spaces where women can share their stories and heal. Amara feels proud as she cuts the ribbon at the opening ceremony. Many women from different backgrounds come to listen, some with tears, some with smiles. They see in her a woman who has walked the hard road and come out stronger. After the opening, Amara begins giving interviews on TV and radio. She talks about resilience, the power to keep going even when life hurts deeply. She speaks about forgiveness, not as a weakness, but as a way to free the heart. She shares how pain can teach strength if we let it. People admire her honesty and calm spirit. Many call her an inspiration. Her son, Toby, returns home from London to support her. When he sees what she has built, his eyes fill with pride. "Mum, you are amazing," he says. "You didn't just survive, you thrived." Amara smiles warmly. "It was never about revenge," she says. "It was about finding myself again." One day, Chaik tries to reach out. He sends messages and even comes to see her. He wants to apologize for everything he did. The lies, the betrayal, the pain. Amara listens quietly. She doesn't shout or cry. Instead, she looks at him calmly and says, "I forgive you, but I don't miss you." Chaik nods, understanding at last that she has moved on. Not because of him, but because of her own strength. Amara is no longer the woman who lived in the shadow of her husband. She is the woman who stands in the light, shining bright for herself and for others. Through her foundation, she teaches women to believe in their own power, to build new dreams, and to live free from fear and pain. She knows the journey is not easy, but every step forward is a victory. Amara looks out at the women in her foundation's classroom, women who once felt lost but now feel hopeful. She smiles, knowing they will rise too. Her story is no longer about heartbreak. It is about healing, courage, and new beginnings. And in that, Amara has found true power. The power to live fully, on her own terms. Amara sits alone in her cafe as the day ends. The warm lights glow softly around her. The kitchen is quiet now, and the last customers have gone home. She picks up an old photo from the table. It is a picture from her wedding day, bright smiles, happy faces, and hopeful hearts. She looks at it for a long time, then gently puts it inside a drawer. Her eyes shine with calm and peace. She whispers softly, almost smiling. Some endings are just new beginnings in disguise. Outside the window, the sun is setting, painting the sky with soft colors. The last scene shows a line of women waiting patiently outside the door of Amara's foundation. They are different ages and faces, but they all have one thing in common: hope. They are ready to learn, to heal, and to start their lives again. Amara watches them quietly, knowing she helped create a place where they can find strength. Her journey was not easy, but this moment feels like victory, quiet and true. She breathes deeply, feeling proud of how far she has come. Her story is no longer about pain or loss. It is about courage, healing, and the power to rise. And now Amara is ready for whatever comes next. Hey besties, thanks a lot for watching all the way through. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more amazing stories. See you next time. Bye.